Hello. I want to do a short demonstration of week 7's lab, the web server or web technologies lab. So let me go ahead and share my screen. Move some stuff around. So I'm logged into my CentOS or my VMware ESXi server. And you can see these are the machines that we've built so far. And we're going to want to create a new machine. So if I go to my data store browser, I'm going to create a new directory, and I'm going to call the first one CentOS 8-web. And I'm going to create that directory, and I'm going to do another one, which we're going to do WinServer-web. And then I'm going to go into the CentOS 8 parent, and I'm going to copy the VMDK file, and I'm going to put that in the CentOS web. And then I'm going to copy the VMX file and put that in CentOS web. And then I'm going to go to the WinServer parent and copy that file to the WinServer web. And then the VMX file from WinServer parent, copy that to WinServer.web. And I'm going to close this, and you can see here the status of those copying. So we'll give that a couple of minutes to copy, and then we'll come back to the video. All right, so now that those files are copied over, I'm going to go into CentOS 8 web, right-click on VMX, register VM, go into WinServer web, right-click on WinServer via parent VMX, register VM. All right, so I'm going to close that, go to my virtual machines, and this CentOS parent, now I'm going to rename this to CentOS 8-web. And then the WinServer parent, let me find it here. Rename this one as well. And this will become my WinServer website. All right, a couple things I want to do on these machines is first, make sure they are connected to the VM network. So on the network here, I'm going to make sure it's not internal, but the VM network. I'm going to do that for the CentOS web as well. Right click, edit settings, VM network. All right, so now that those are ready to roll, let me start these up. And of course, I copied it. And I'll do the same thing with my CentOS guest, CentOS web, I copied it. And we'll let those start up. And then I'll answer the questions that it's going to ask me, for the username and password and all that stuff. So let me pause this again. All right, so I'm going to set up my WinServer web machine, agree to accept the license, give it our password, break, CNET 2021, exclamation point, and finish. Oh. All right, so now I'm going to log in here. Again, you have to go actions, send key, guest OS, send keys, control delete, and log on. Then what I want to do is change the server name to server-web, and I want to grab the IP version 4 address as well, which should be on the 10.29.72. something network. So let's let this start up. I'm going to make it discoverable. Since it is a web server, we want it to be able to be found. All right, so let Server Manager run for a second. We'll click on local server. And we want to change this ugly win, whatever that is, to server-web. Okay. Tell us we have to restart. I'm going to click restart later because I want to get this IP address. If I look at the details, 10.29.72.82. So my Windows Server 2019 web server is 20.82 or 10.29.72.82. All right, so now I'm going to restart this. And close that window for now. Now over on my CentOS, I'm going to do something very similar. CNET 2021 exclamation point. And to change the name on CentOS, we have to go to the command terminal. So let's go terminal. I want to become root, su-l. Password. Then I want to use a command called hostname control set dash hostname. And this one, instead of server dash web, we're going to call it web dash server. And we're going to put it on our domain, web server dash cnet.lab. Okay. And if I hit enter, and then if I just type hostname, it will show me that it actually took the changes. Right. And then I want the IP address of this one, so I can do IP add. And I'm looking at this number here, .80. All right. So that's, we'll just leave this one right here for now. So that I got .82 is my server dash web, and then .80 is my web dash server. All right, so now I'm going to switch back over to my Windows server machine. And it restarted, so I need to log back in. Send keys, Control Delete. Give it the focus. This where I can see it. And what I'm going to do now is install the IIS, the Internet Information Store, which is the web server for Windows. And I can do that in Server Manager, just like everything else. So I'll let this run, let that do its thing. All right, so I'm going to add roles and features, and it's a role-based or feature-based install, server-web. There's my IP address. So if you didn't get that the first time, it's right there. And I want to come down and click on web server, and then just add feature. And just next, all the way through. All of these, we're not making any changes, and install. All right. So we'll let that do its thing. This will just take a couple of minutes as it installs the web server IIS, the management tools, the protocols, everything we need for to host a website on our server-web machine. We'll let that finish. All right, so let's switch back over to CentOS while we're waiting and get that started. So I'm going to clear this screen real quick. And in CentOS, you can just type clear. And as the root user, I'm going to use the install program, the DNF-Y for, which says, if there's any questions that have yes or no, my default answer is going to be yes. And we're going to use the Nginx web platform. So DNF-Y install Nginx. This will go out on the internet. Look for some information to download. Hopefully we'll find everything we need. And it's working, doing its thing. So it's running all that, very good. Through that screen again. And then the next thing I want to do is edit the nginx.configuration file. So we're going to use the nano editor again, and we're going to do -C, which will show us the line numbers. So that's what that C is for. And then we want the etc nginx nginx.conf. All right. And hopefully you notice if I just type E and then the tab, it will fill that in. So you don't have to type all this stuff out. Just use the tab completion. Okay. And this is going to open this. And then we want to go down to line 41. So if you look, it tells us what line we're on. On the bottom, it says line 17 and 91. So we want the line that has the server name website. So right here. So where it's just underscore, we want to change that to server underscore name. And then we want web server.cnet.lab. And then get rid of that space there. And then to exit or save this, we can hit Control X, hit the Y to save it, and then enter. And then we're going to restart the system control. So system control, enable, -- nginx. We don't have to have this .service in there. And it will restart our system there. And then another thing we want to do is make sure our firewall is set to allow add-service equals HTTP, and we want that to be permanent. Okay. And then we're going to just reload the firewall rules, and that will allow web traffic to get to our machine. Right. So now that we have our default websites created for both of our machines, now what we need to do is go over to our Windows 10 client, and let's make sure this one is on the right network as well. So we'll go Actions, Edit Settings, and again, make sure it's on the VM network. And we're going to start this up. And we'll get this one logged on. Then what we need to do is we need to edit the host file on this machine, which I'll show you how to do that real quick. All right, so here we just hit enter and make sure we're on the local machine. If it says CNET58, you're on the right one. If not, go to other, like we did last week, and make sure you log on to the local machine, not onto the domain. All right, so get that logged on. And again, got the nice colored background, so I know that's not my host machine, but it's actually my test machine. So first thing I want to do is check the network, make sure it's on. So Ethernet adapter options. And I can tell right away it's on the right network because it's the montsac.montsac.edu, but let's just check the details. And that looks good. If we go into the properties, IP version 4, obtain automatically. Perfect. All right. So now what I want to do is on this machine is run Notepad. So type Notepad here. And then when it says the best match is Notepad app, right click on that. Run as administrator. And then you get the user account control, click yes. And what I want to do is go and open a file that's already on my machine. We need to change this to all files. And then this is in the C Windows System 32. So I just need to come down and this is going to be in the drivers, Etsy, and then the file I want is this host file. So I'm going to click open here, and then I'm going to come down to the bottom of this, and I am going to add the following information. So just come to under where it says localhost, and so my 82, and hit tab. That's my www.cnet.lab. Actually, my CentOS is, and this will be the name of the IP address of my CentOS server. So we can put a comment here and say, web, and then I'm going to do another one with the same IP address. And we're going to do a virtual in just a second here. And move that over just so it's readable. And I'll do the same thing for my Windows. And I'm going to give this one a www.cnet.lab. And this is my and same IP address. And this is going to be my virtual for my Windows server. Okay, and when that's done, we can just save this file. Now, if you don't run as administrator, that file's read only, so you'll get a save as. So make sure you run that as administrator. And then we can close this. And now I can open a web browser here on this machine. And if I just type in here, so I want to go first to the CentOS, which is www.cnet.lab. And hit enter. It'll get the, and I don't want a new version here. So that shows me my CentOS. And then if I come over to the www2, I will hit my Windows machine. Okay. All right. So that's that part. Now I'm going to create some virtual domains. So I'm going to close this. We'll come back to that guy in a little bit. And first thing I'm going to do is go to my Win server and fail to connect. Let's go open browser console. And it's not working there. All right, let me refresh this page just to make sure everything's got a fresh look. All right, so here I am back on my Win server. So what I want to do now is go to Tools and Internet Information Services Manager. So I'm going to open this and make it full screen so you can see what's going on. And I want to select the server so I can see the default website. So if I open the site, it shows the default website here. And now what I want to do is right click on sites. So right here, I want to right click and add a website. And I am going to give it the name of new site. And the application name is new site. The physical path, I'm going to put it in the IINet pub. And in here, I'm going to create a new folder called new site. And then hit enter and then hit OK. So it's going to be HTTP new site. And then the host name I'm going to give this is www.virtual.host. Okay. And check something. Yeah, so I made a mistake earlier, but I'll go fix that in just a minute. Okay, so then I'm gonna hit OK. And the next thing I need to do, so I can close this, and I need to create a new file in that location. So I'm gonna come into the C INET pub new site, and I want to create a new file, and I'm just going to copy this right out of the lab. So I want to do a new text file, but I'm going to call it index, open notepad, create index.htm. Okay, and when I do that, you notice it's still a text file. So what I need to do is come into the options here and show file name extensions. And I want to get rid of that .text. So I want .html, or HTML is fine. And it's going to squawk at me and say, are you sure? And I'm going to say yes. All right. So now I'm going to edit this file. And I'm going to open it with Notepad again. And now I'm just going to paste what I have in the, well, it's not going to let me, but. So I'm going to do my HTML tags. This is just really basic HTML. I'm going to start at 100%. And that tag. And then the next thing I'm going to do is give it the title. And I'm going to close those tags. And save this file. All right, so that's the virtual on that one. I'm going to close that. And before I forget, I need to come back over to the Win10 client and go back into Notepad. Run as admin. And hopefully it's in the right spot. It is. All files. Now I want to do this host. And I had these .lab for the virtual, but the virtual should be dot. I didn't type this correctly the first time. Those are going to be .host. So wherever it says virtual.lab, just change that to virtual. Which obviously is not a domain registered name, but for our exercise, it'll be fine. All right. Then we're going to close that one. Now we're going to do the same thing on our CentOS server. And we'll log in. And for the virtual domain in CentOS, it's a little more complicated. But what we need to do basically is edit or create a file. So we're going to do nano-c confd virtual.host.conf. So we're going to create a file called virtual.host.conf. And in here, we're going to put server and then curly bracket tab listen tab 80 server underscore name virtual.host location, and that's the slash, then curly bracket. And then we're going to tell it to use this file. And we'll tell it to listen for either of those two file types. And then we're going to close this curly bracket. And then we're going to close this curly bracket. All right. We're going to hit Control X. Yes, enter. And we need to make that location. So we're going to do user share nginx and virtual.host. And now we're going to restart our nginx. Nginx, not service. All right, so once we have typed our, let me go back into that location, the virtualhost.conf. It should look like this. You can, if you just use spaces, a single space instead of tab, I think it might work better. And the reason mine didn't load is because I had user instead of USR. So you got to watch for typos. Save this file and then restart nginx. And then we're going to create this other file, which is the index.html. So I just type the information from here. So I can say Professor Miller's nginx, Control X, yes. And then save that. And then once that's done, we can close out of this and go back over to our Windows 10 client machine. And if we open a browser for our www.virtual.host, it will update with the information in our page. Then if we do the same thing for our IIS www.2.virtual.host, it will open that one. All right. So that's what I want to see in this week's lab. And then you'll just give me a screenshot of all of those web servers. All right. So hopefully that will get you going in the right direction. And if you have any questions, of course, I'll be on lab during the lab time and I'll be able to help you with that. All right. Take care.